Wrestling fans are still reeling in and gathering themselves from the new Bloodline's absolute shockingly vicious betrayal of Paul Heyman on Friday Night SmackDown last week, and like we had touched upon in our last video, Paul Heyman is reportedly in critical condition right now in the hospital following the conclusion of SmackDown, where Heyman was sent crashing through the announcer's desk in such a devastating way. Right now, wrestling fans in the entire WWE locker room are praying for Paul Heyman to make a full recovery from the disastrous betrayal, but it does appear as though Heyman has a long road ahead of him before ever making any sort of a comeback in WWE. Roman Reigns is obviously devastated by what the new Bloodline did to his Wiseman and absolutely wanting revenge in the worst way and getting a bit of karma from Roman Reigns. Seeking revenge in the near future isn't the only thing the new Bloodline has to worry about right now, because a breaking new behind-the-scenes report has revealed that the rumors of SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis, along with Triple H and other key WWE executives, being furious with Solo Sikoa and the rest of the Bloodline for what they did to Paul Heyman, are in fact true, and now that the dust has settled, so to speak, and Paul Heyman's at least in a stable condition right now, Hunter and Aldis are now shifting their focus to punishing the new Bloodline for their actions last week, and it's not good news for the new Bloodline, as it has been reported that Triple H and Nick Aldis are apparently planning to suspend Solo Sikoa and the rest of the new Bloodline from WWE indefinitely, as well as issuing hefty fines for all members, with one of our insider sources reporting the following breaking information on WWE's plans to punish the new Bloodline, quote, "As we had reported in yesterday's video, Triple H and Nick Aldis were solely focused on making sure Paul Heyman was going to be okay after the ruthless betrayal on Friday Night SmackDown last week by the new Bloodline, and while it was whispered behind the scenes that it was expected that Solo Sikoa and the rest of the Bloodline would be punished for what they did, Hunter and Aldis put that on the back burner until they would receive word that Paul Heyman's going to be alright and pull through." Well, we've heard that Paul Heyman's condition right now is stable and is showing signs of recovering, so that has allowed Triple H, Nick Aldis, and other WWE executives to take a big sigh of relief and now shift their focus to the real problem at hand, which is the new Bloodline led by Solo Sikoa, which has caused nothing but havoc in WWE, specifically on SmackDown, over the past 2 months. The sentiment is that while Nick Aldis felt like the original Bloodline, led by Roman Reigns, was difficult enough to navigate and work with, the new faction led by Solo Sikoa has reportedly been an exhausting problem on screen and behind the scenes in WWE with their continuous rule-breaking actions. Now that Paul Heyman's apparently going to make it and is now going to begin the slow road to recovery, we've been told that Triple H and Nick Aldis are now ironing out the details regarding the punishment for the new Bloodline that will be revealed to the WWE Universe in the coming days. We've heard rumors that Hunter and Aldis are planning to suspend Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Jacob Fatu from WWE indefinitely, and issue severe fines that are intended to really make it clear to the new Bloodline that their actions do have consequences, and if they're going to continue to do things that hurt the WWE and put the company in a bad light in the media with their lawless and ruleless behavior that paints WWE in a bad way, that there's basically no control over the product, and it's essentially a free-for-all, the new Bloodline will suffer some serious consequences and could actually find themselves all released or fired from WWE if anything like the destruction of Paul Heyman, an innocent non-wrestler, happens again. We've heard that all 4 Bloodline members will be issued $100,000 fines along with their indefinite suspensions from WWE and specifically Friday Night SmackDown. WWE don't want anything to do with the new Bloodline that has brought nothing but negative PR the WWE's way with their destructive actions, and clearly Triple H and Nick Aldis have had enough of it, and are finally going to do something to hopefully stop things like this from happening again. Paul Heyman was quite literally put in intensive care in the hospital because of what Solo Sikoa and the rest of the Bloodline did to him on SmackDown, and had Paul Heyman not made it, which thankfully is not the case, WWE would have had an absolute nightmare of a time with the media for something so crazy happening on their television show by their contracted talent. That would have been an absolute disaster for WWE, not to mention Paul Heyman's a well-respected legend of the business and very important to WWE behind the scenes. So it's clear that Solo Sikoa and the rest of the new bloodline are not going to be getting away with their destructive betrayal of Paul Heyman last week on SmackDown, and the fact that no punishment had been announced by WWE was simply because the focus at the time was to make sure Paul Heyman was going to make it and is okay, and now that Heyman's in a stable condition health-wise, Triple H and SmackDown GM Nick Aldis can take action against the bloodline to make sure nothing like this happens again. You know, Solo Sikoa may feel like he's invincible or untouchable as the new tribal chief of the bloodline, but if these rumors are true, all 4 members of the bloodline will soon find themselves indefinitely suspended by WWE and dealing with a $100,000 fine, which would especially be bad news for Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, who just recently joined WWE and may not have as big of a financial cushion as their tribal chief Solo Sikoa. Now, some fans may be wondering how long the new bloodline's indefinite suspension from WWE is going to last, with one source reporting, quote, "Now, as far as Solo Sikoa and the rest of the bloodline's indefinite suspensions from WWE, we've heard that they could be removed from WWE television for a couple of months due to the severity of the injuries they caused to Paul Heyman last week. Quite often in WWE, the indefinite suspensions for wrestlers don't last very long, and they end up returning pretty quickly, but that's reportedly not going to be the case with the new bloodline. The damage they caused to Paul Heyman on Friday Night SmackDown last week is quite literally grounds for immediate termination from their WWE contracts, and that was reportedly an option that Triple H and Nick Aldis talked about, but they do see value in the new bloodline if they are able to get it together and not be such a problem for the company on screen and behind the scenes. So they decided that an indefinite suspension and hefty fine will scare Solo Sikoa and the rest of the bloodline from doing anything like that again, because no doubt WWE wouldn't want them going to AEW, so the company are sort of forced to settle with a suspension and fine over being fired. But again, if these weren't major stars for WWE that help draw big ratings for SmackDown whenever they're featured, no doubt they would have been fired if they did to Paul Heyman what the new bloodline did to him last week. Regardless, once WWE announced the suspensions of Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu, don't expect to see them back for a couple of months, we're being told, although the plans are always subject to change, but Triple H and Nick Aldis plan to make an example out of Solo Sikoa and the new bloodline, so their indefinite suspension will likely be treated as a very serious thing in WWE, and they won't be brought back anytime soon once the announcement has been made official by WWE and the new bloodline are indefinitely suspended. Certainly, a lot of fans will feel this punishment is justified for Solo Sikoa and the rest of the faction, although some may feel they deserved even worse. To be fired from WWE, and again, that was an option considered behind the scenes, but due to the reasons we stated, WWE have reportedly decided to indefinitely suspend them instead. Well guys, that's it for today's major wrestling news. Make sure you leave a like and comment, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you'll never miss out on an episode. Finally, if you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter at TSE Wrestling, and we will see you guys in the next video.